This is 6 Minutes, the seriously international daily newscast. It's Friday, April 25th. I'm Anne-Sophie Goninet.
And I'm Jacob Shropshire. People in Jakarta are headed home for the weekend, while those in Halifax, Nova Scotia are just starting their Friday. Here in the World Crunch newsroom in Paris, it's just after midday. These are the latest headlines. India and Pakistan tensions escalate after attack in Kashmir. World leaders arrive in Rome for the Pope's funeral on Saturday. And our daily quiz question comes from Africa's oldest nature reserve. Our top story today comes from an interview with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov with U.S. outlet CBS.
I think rightly so, that we are moving in the right direction. The statement by the president mentions a deal, and we are ready to reach a deal. But there are
Speaking with CBS anchor Margaret Brennan, the veteran foreign minister added that some elements of a truce still need to be, quote, fine-tuned. It's not clear if the Kremlin is again just buying time, as Lavrov's statement comes after Donald Trump made a rare public reproach of Vladimir Putin following Thursday's deadly bombing of Kyiv. Meanwhile, at least 3 more people were killed by an overnight drone strike into Ukraine. India's army chief will visit Kashmir to review its security and visit the site where 26 tourists were killed by militants in the disputed region. India has claimed there were Pakistani elements involved in the attack and levied a slew of diplomatic measures against Pakistan, with Islamabad announcing retaliatory measures and denying involvement in the attack. The UN urged, quote, maximum restraint in the situation as relations between the two nuclear-armed nations hits its lowest point in years. Heads of state, including Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky, are beginning to arrive in Rome ahead of Saturday's funeral for Pope Francis in St. Peter's Square. Cardinals from across the globe will also be in attendance at the funeral. No doubt, whispered conversations are already beginning ahead of the conclave to select Francis's successor. Spanish daily ABC features on its front page the pictures of 8 cardinals. These men in red aren't necessarily frontrunners to be pope, but are the so-called kingmakers, seen by the Vatican watchers as the most influential in steering the choice inside the conclave. In total, 135 cardinals from 71 countries will gather in the Sistine Chapel to vote on the new pope and decide between, quote, greater orthodoxy or following a more reformist sentiment, the Madrid-based newspaper writes. In today's More Than a Minute feature, we turn to one country that may have a different view on Donald Trump's trade war, Egypt. Anne-Sophie, why aren't the U.S. tariffs striking fear into Cairo's economic establishment like they are in other world capitals?
First of all, the tariffs imposed on Egypt are limited to 10%, which will not cause significant harm considering the relatively modest volume of Egyptian exports to the United States. But there's another angle that has received much less attention, writes Ahmed Al-Bardini in Cairo-based Al-Manassa. The tariffs announced by Trump place a heavy burden on several Southeast Asian countries, which are Egypt's main competitors in the US. This offers Cairo a good opportunity to actually increase its exports to the American market, in particular in the textile industry. Even with Trump's tariffs, the final price of Egyptian products will be cheaper than the Asian competitors, primarily Indonesia, Bangladesh, the Philippines, and Thailand. Some Egyptian companies say they have already been asked by US importers to increase their production capacity as they try to find an alternative to Chinese exports that will become more expensive due to the imposed tariffs.
But will Egypt be able to increase its production capacities to answer to these demands?
Well, according to leaders in the textile industry who spoke to Al-Manassa, the real challenge facing Egyptian exports is not Trump's tariffs, but rather a lack of experience and insufficient investment to seize this opportunity. The former head of the Export Council for Ready-Made Garments says, "We need to build new factories and create a more favorable investment climate. Egypt needs to increase its numbers of factories tenfold." The garment sector also suffers from the exodus of many workers to foreign markets, particularly Turkey and Russia, due to the low wages in Egyptian factories. Still, the sector is showing clear signs of growth and aims to increase exports to $12 billion by 2030. By then, we'll know whether Trump's trade war hurt or helped Egypt, or if it even happened at all.
We're closing things out today with our daily quiz question, which comes to us from the forests of the Congo. Virunga National Park in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo is turning to a new product to boost conservation efforts. What is Africa's oldest national park selling to support its wildlife protection program? Is it A, gold-plated elephant statues, B, chimpanzee-scented candles, C, meet a hippo individualized experiences, or D, chocolate gorillas? The correct answer is D. To celebrate its 100th anniversary, Virunga National Park in the Democratic Republic of Congo is selling chocolate gorillas in Europe, including in its former colonial power of Belgium. The national park is home to many of the remaining mountain gorillas, but is increasingly under threat from volcanic activity, deforestation, and the armed conflict ravaging the eastern part of the DRC. Profits from the sales will be put towards improvement in nearby communities.
That's the latest from around the world. If you like this podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you could help us out with a follow, share, and a 5-star rating on your preferred podcasting platform. For more of the best of the international press, delivered exclusively in English, visit us at worldcrunch.com. We'll be back on Monday. Bon weekend!